All right, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. This is a wonderful Wednesday, and I hope it's a wonderful Wednesday for you. Happy Juneteenth. I'm not just wearing this shirt just for nothing. And it's not just because it's Juneteenth and it's a national holiday. This is where we come from. If you are African American descent, happy Juneteenth. But let's go beyond just the Juneteenth of a national holiday. The mentality is that we are free. Let me say it again. We are free. We're not just becoming free and we know because we have an extra day to celebrate our independence. No. We are free. I'll say it again. We are free. We're not just free in our individual lives. We are free in our families, the things, the bloodline, the generational curses, the things that we have dealt with in our family line, our bloodline has to be canceled. And because it hasn't been canceled before, we got to cancel it. We have to be the cancel things that have been going forth that haven't helped our families. We got to cut loose anything that's been holding us back. So happy Juneteenth. Be free and be motivated. I'm serious. And I'm just glad to be with you on this morning. And again, happy Juneteenth. But I want you to be not just free in your mind and be free individually. I want your family to be free. So the topic that we're going to talk about is learn how to be more open. I'll even throw in the word free. Learn how to be more open and free with each other, how to communicate more, how to be more open to listen, open to receive with each other. That's what we're going to talk about today. If this is your first time, my name is David M. Pinkston, but I go by the name of DMPSpeaks. I am a speaker, soon to be author, and I'm a personal development coach for families. And I'm also a Christian counselor as well, board certified Christian counselor. So I want to jump into this because I don't want to belabor your time, but I want you to share this with someone. Please share this information with someone this morning. And I hope that you guys are enjoying your day so far. So why is it so hard for families to open up to each other? I feel like one of the biggest things that I have experienced myself, and you probably have experienced, is the communication barrier. It's one of the biggest barriers in a lot of lives, a lot of families. We are not communicating with each other like we're supposed to. Let's keep it a real and keep it a buck today. We don't talk enough. But when we do talk, we're talking over each other. We're really not listening to each other. We're just talking. We're just saying things, but we're not moving the needle, as they say. Moving the needle is we're not progressing forward. And a lot of families are not open enough to really hear each other because they just want to hear themselves. They want to get that trauma out. They want to get that thought out. They want to be heard. They want to be seen. And I'm going to be honest, I get it. You want to be heard and you want to be seen, especially when you have not been heard and you have not been seen. But why is it so hard for us to keep that, especially when you start it or you lose it? Because the communication is not free, it's not open, and it's not healthy. Sometimes we just go back to the familiar. We go back to the things that we felt like was working, but it wasn't never working. It was just that it was so dysfunctional, that it was abnormal, that you thought it was okay. I'll say it again, you thought it was okay to scream and yell because that's how you guys did it for years. Because I hear a lot of people, that's just how my family is. But is it good for your family? Has your family grew, or has your family's growth been stunted? Have you been hindered because you have not been more open to listen? Do you know how many children? Let me change that around. Do you know how many adult children that have children of their own is trying to give love and affection from a place where they did not receive it? So you have a lot of 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, my age, almost 40, still longing for that hug, still longing for that affection from their own parent, and they're grown because we do not communicate the way we're supposed to. We don't listen. That's why I titled it Learn How to Be More Open with Each Other, to really share your thoughts and that people are listening. We don't take time to listen. Let's keep it a book. I told you these sessions are not about pulling down on people or making people feel bad, but we got to shine a light in dark areas and dark places. This is what I was designed to do. This is a part of my purpose, to shine some light, some ultra light LED light in some dark places in your family. Okay. And some of the reasons I wrote these down, some of the reasons why we're not open with our emotions is we have trust issues. Come on, y'all. We got some bad trust issues with each other because a lot of us have been burnt so many times. We've been disrespected so many times. We've been rejected so many times, to the places like, why should I talk? Why am I going to talk when nobody's going to listen in the first place? Listen, I've been there. I've been there as a father. I've been there as a brother. I've been there as a son or even an uncle, not listening, being closed-minded. I'm not afraid to say it, being closed-minded. I'll say it again, being closed-minded. So because of my closed-mindedness, I know it's not a word, but being closed-minded, I didn't give my family the opportunity to express themselves because I was more focused on how is it going to affect me? How what they said to me, how is it going to affect me without just listening to what they were saying and making my adjustments. I had a lot of growth to do because they had trust, they had distrust in me. And let's be honest, I had some distrust in myself because I didn't want to be put on the chopping block. Well, you didn't do this, David. You didn't do that, Dad. You didn't do that, husband. You didn't do that, son. You didn't let me speak. Uncle, you didn't let me speak. I've been there. And it's a very lonely place because that trust has to be rebuilt. Yeah, hear what I'm saying? It has to be rebuilt. So there's trust issues there. You got some trust issues right now that you're dealing with your teen, your young adult, your adult child. You're so busy that you can't listen. You're so busy you can't be attentive. You're so busy that they don't feel comfortable with you or around you. So they got trust issues. Some of you, excuse me, were told not to share. Some of you young men were told not to share your emotions. You were told that was a sign of weakness. Do you know how hard that is? Not to share what's on your mind? And you got to keep that in your mind space, and make room for things that need to be talked about, that need to be heard, and you can't talk about it with people that you see every single day. That's a problem. That's a problem. You can never share because it's a sign of weakness. No, that was the sign of confusion. You know why they told you that? Because they never had an opportunity to share and not be judged, not be called names. You a punk. You acting like a girl. You can't share that. You got to be tough. Yeah, there's a certain area, a certain place where a young man has to become tough, but you shouldn't shut them down not to be able to share. Of course, there's young ladies that were told not to share. Of course, they were told not to talk. They were told not to share their thoughts, anything that they were afraid of, anything that scared them. They couldn't share because the living room, the living space in the house, you couldn't come to the table and talk about issues because the family were already dealing with so many. They didn't want to add on your personal issues. So a lot of you weren't able to share, or you weren't able to bring up old things. See, we like to, ooh, we like to cover up our problems. If we feel like as we go on, we can just cover them up. It's not going to be a big deal, but it is a hindrance. It's a hindrance when you can't bring up old things that are not resolved. You guys got a lot of open wounds still mentally and emotionally that you haven't been able to open up to or open up about. Excuse me, let me say it correctly. That you weren't able to be open about, to talk about old things that were never resolved, old things that have never been talked about, old things that you still deal with, that still keep you up at night. You never talked about them because, again, nobody was open. Nobody was open to hear what you have to say. Nobody was open to just hear you out. So you've been shut off for so many years. Some of your teams have been shut off for the last several months or the last several years, but they won't talk. You've tried therapy. The reason why therapy or counseling is not working because we're not talking about the right things. We're not really talking about, well, you never let me talk about what I want to talk about because you're afraid that it's going to come back onto you. A lot of us have suppressed thoughts, that we keep those things down and they express emotions in a healthy way. You don't always have to yell and scream, but that's the only way that you can get the attention. That's the only way that you can get a response from your parents. Parents, you feel like the only way that you can get a response from your kids if you're yelling at them because you're so frustrated, because you're feeling so down. And you're trying to do all of these things. You're attempting to do all these things, but you don't even recognize that it's an issue. And this is what I'm here for. I'm here to help you recognize that there's some issues that are going on in your home. Do you hear what I'm saying? There are some issues that are going on in your home. And I want to help you recognize this is what these morning sessions is all about. Shining a light on those things that are hard to talk about. But we got to be more open to hear and not judge. I'll say it again. We got to be more open to hear and not judge one another. Because if we continue to judge one another, man, we're gonna continue to have closed conversations, conversations that should have happened, conversations that should have been talked about, but we don't do it enough. We are losing out on knowing each other, understanding each other, because we don't take the time to listen to each other. We are so preoccupied with what's going on the outside of our homes. And we start to, or I would say, continue to neglect what's going on in our homes. But I want to give you these things really quickly. And I'm going to end, and I want you to share this with someone. And I thank you. Today is about freedom. You see this shirt? It's about freedom. These areas in Africa, they're free. But we got to not just be free and wear t-shirts and wear different things, right, of clothing. We got to be free in our minds. We got to be free in our hearts. But we also got to be free in our family. And when we have a better outlook and we have a more open mind to listen and hear, it brings unity. Because with unity, it brings strength. I'll say it again. When you have unity, when you are together, you can only grow from here. And with strength, you start to get an understanding of one another. Not an assumption. You get a clear-cut understanding of one another. And as you start to understand one another, you start to grow, because whatever that was keeping you from growing, you're weeding those things out. And after you start to grow one another and you start to understand one another, you draw closer together. So there's better togetherness and camaraderie. So you have unity that builds strength. And as you start to gain more strength and momentum, you start to understand one another. So your conversations start to change. And from your conversations starting to change and get an understanding, you start to grow. And as you start to grow, you're growing together. And as you start to grow together, you come more, not even just together, you come better as that unit. So you go back to that unity, but you become a unit. You're not separate anymore. Even when you have an argument, you know how to come from that argument to have peace, even if you don't agree with one another. You don't have to end the night off. You don't have to end the week off chaotically. You can be more together. And why did I talk about this? Why do I have this on my family morning sessions with you? Because I'm here to shine a light on things that are dark in your family. And because the light comes, it brings newness, revitalization, reconciliation. Because I believe every family deserves transformation. And there is a family out there that needs transformation. You've been looking at me, you've been getting on the telecast, and you in this session, and you're saying, I really want to, but I'm just not ready. But when are you going to take that step? When are you going to get a family coach like myself that is here to help you? Is here to make adjustments for you. I want to help you grow like you've never grown before. I want you to set yourself up for success in your family by going and sharing this, going to my link and starting a new journey. Let my program, let my business help you grow unlimitedly. Let's be more open. Let's be more transparent. I love you guys. I love your family. And I want to help you. So sign up today. I'll see you tomorrow, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, for another family morning session with yours truly, DMPSpeaks. I love you guys. I want to share this information with you, and I'll see you tomorrow.